Now, with that being said, we've got some very cool women that, oh my goodness, Amanda May is here with her child. So Amanda May, we have Rocio Aquino, and we have Lainey Strauss. And we are going to have a panel and we're going to talk about this thing called moms. We're going to talk about the things of balancing. This is our Celebrity Moms panel. A lot of these women have done incredible things, but let me tell you, so Lainey is the president of Lower Merion Productions. She is a producer, head of funding and strategy. And a lot of you have heard Lainey talk before. She deals a lot with royals. She did an amazing class on talking about how you talk in the world of royals. She has raised an incredible amount of money for a number of not only productions, but charities. We have Amanda May, who last time Amanda came on, she was talking about what it was like to be the only woman on a board of a 9-figure company. She is the CEO of Statter, and I hope I said that right because you just texted to me and I didn't have a chance. I'm like, I'm going to go with it. Statter Skin. And then Rocio, look at what I got. And for all of you that are going to Ireland, you are going to get a copy of this. So there is something about being there in person. And she is an international best-selling author of The Orchid. She is a podcast host and producer, an inspirational presenter and storyteller. So welcome, ladies, to the stage. If you haven't been here before, and I believe you all have, welcome again. So let's kind of talk a little bit about this. If you can, and I'll just, ask you one at a time here. Maybe you can share about your family, your world as a mom, the business that you're in now, maybe the business that you had as your children are growing up. And then I've got a couple of questions that I think would be of great interest to all of our watchers, viewers, and listeners. So Miss Lainey Strauss, let's start with you.
Okay, why not?
Why not? You're right there. I'm sitting right at you.
Well, what did you want me to start with?
Well, why don't you first of all share a little bit about what you do, what it is that you're doing, because you're balancing this world of, mom and career woman. So what is it you do? How many children do you have?
I have 2 children, 3 if you include, never mind, just kidding. I have 2 children, and I think it's a constant evaluation on a daily basis of what has to be done that day and in that minute. I don't know that there's like some perfect, it always makes me laugh when people are like work-life balance, as if there's like this magical even scale that we can all perfectly hit. Which, for me, it's always like, okay, this is the deadline for this today. This is where they have to go right now. And I just created, it was a lot of choices. There were jobs I didn't take that were like going to take me away for long periods of time. There were choices I made along the way where I said, no, I don't want to be and everybody has to make that decision for themselves, but I didn't want to be an absentee parent. I wanted to be home as much as possible. So it meant juggling a lot of things. And no matter how late I got home, I still got up in the morning to get them off to school. So that it could be a very, it's a choice of lack of sleep in that moment. And I'm not suggesting that's good. I know we know sleep is important, but I'll be very honest with you. I've probably been sleep deprived for my entire adult life. So, I think it's a constant balance of, trying to create that where you can support your family financially, mentally. You try obviously to be to say that we try to find those moments of self-care. That's sometimes laughable. But it's a constant thing, and I think it's taking it day by day and saying, okay, during the week, this is like my schedule to accomplish all of it. And as we all know, as moms, quite often, the slightest thing goes sideways and it blows up your schedule, but that's just part of it. It's like your child gets sick, or, you have a deadline get moved up, or it's raining outside when you had something to do outside, and that changes everything. So I think it's really about staying flexible, understanding your values and priorities, and creating a system that works for you. It's if there's a time that gets up that gives you some time to yourself. I mean, I've had my schedules have been where I had to schedule a shower. Like I had to know exactly, okay, I have this meeting, I have an hour gap, I'm going to shower there. That's how sometimes it was. And I mean, that's just being honest.
Yeah.
Um, and, I've worked for jobs and people that were really unrelenting and um, did not really leave room for that. So it's like required me to make a lot of choices or sometimes sacrifices. And sometimes I had to leave a job because if it's 24 hours a day and, I did a job for 5 years where I maybe slept 3 hours a night and I was like, okay, this is just not a sustainable life for me. And I left even though there were good things about the role that I really enjoyed. But again, every woman has to sort of make that decision for themselves about your values, your priorities, and how you make that happen based on what your life circumstances are. Some people have grandparents to help, some people don't. Some people have a nanny, some people don't. And I think as women, we all have to kind of, I think, recognize that everyone is doing the best they can with what they know and what they have. And like, I've never, I know there's always this thing with moms who work and moms who don't work and judgment on either side. I've just never felt that way. I just think everyone makes the decisions that work for their life and their lifestyle and their circumstances, whether it's because they choose to work or they need to work or whatever. I don't understand why there's ever that kind of, judgment between people. I think everything is a choice and everybody should make that for themselves.
Uh, there's some great things in there. I mean, one of the questions I was going to ask was about strategies, and I heard
Yeah.
scheduling a shower, making career different decisions, um, allowing yourself to, well, you didn't have much sleep, but it sounds to me like you had choice. Like at least you made the decisions, you knew the decisions you were making based on, like you said, some of the values that you had.
Yeah, and there were times when I had to reevaluate, going, okay, I'm not having time for myself. This is not healthy, working 24 hours a day. So I would like, okay, I go to yoga on Saturday morning. I'm going to do
Yeah.
these strategies to give myself some relaxation to I literally put those in my schedule. I don't act like
Right.
and I do my best to honor those things. I mean, sometimes I do have to travel for work, and in terms of that, those are other sacrifices. Like I went to the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. I'm the only person who's ever been to Hawaii without a bathing suit, I think. Um, and and that was a choice I made because I did the work, flew home because my children were small and I wanted to get home as soon as possible. And most people stayed and hung out and had a vacation. But I was kind of in the mindset at the time of like, I didn't want to be away from them too long and I felt bad. And they
Yep.
missed me. So it was like I went there, did the work, took the flight home 8 in the morning the next day after the project was done. And, again, it's a choice. Some people are like, oh, I need that extra day. I'm going to lay by the pool. And I probably should have done that. But it was a choice because I had that push pull that a lot of us have when we work and we're
Yep.
trying to give our kids, the time and attention that they need and deserve. Um,
Yeah.
those are all choices everybody has to make for themselves. It's all
Absolutely.
tricky.
Absolutely. Well, look at we've got Amanda. Amanda, you've talk about bringing your kid to work day. Awesome. So share with us. I mean, what you've
That's her
done.
strategy. She's showing you her
She's
first.
showing her strategy. I saw the whiteboard. I saw her like on the whiteboard. So Amanda May, share with us, what you're doing right now, what you've done. You have two children. There's a bit of a gap. You did the gap like me. I've got a bit of a gap. So just share with us a little bit and what are some of the things that you do?
Yeah, and I mean, I've been in skincare and beauty for over 20 years. So I was actually going to school for that when I got pregnant with my son, who is now 21. And I was young. I did have some help with the family, but I just had this mindset of like, I'm going to integrate him as much as possible into my life. And so I would take him to meetings. And I mean, outside of having clients, he couldn't sit there while I was doing facials. That's not super relaxing for the client, but he came to meetings and events with me. And, I try to include her in as much as possible. She just turned 1 in January. So yeah, there was a gap. I did have quite a few years where I could focus on my career. And I'm super grateful because I'm at a place now where I get to work predominantly from home. And so, I have a ton of support from her father, which is great. And he keeps her during the day, and I pop in to put her down for a nap. But for the most part, it's really working together in the sense of finding what is the right flow for us. And I think as a mom, you just got to figure out what's right for you. Like Lainey said, everybody's going to have an idea of how to do it, but you have to figure out like what is the right thing for you and at this moment, because I think she likes that. I think with little ones, it changes every 2 to 3 weeks. You start to get in a groove, and then they're like, just joking, we're going to do this now. So you just got to be able to go with the flow. I mean, my patience at 41 is completely different than the patience and understanding I had when I was 20 and had my first. So those are things I do, but I think it's good to normalize that we're moms and we're working, and we sometimes, hey, I'm going to be late for a call. My business partners know this, hey, I'm 2 minutes late. I just got her down for a nap. I'm popping on, and creating that understanding from the beginning with the people I work with is important. And again, I'm lucky because my business partner, he has triplets, and then also another new one. So they have 4. So, when he hears Miss Rachel playing in the background, he has no judgment. He's like, it's totally fine. So that's helpful. But yeah, I mean, I get her involved and make her a part of the process as much as possible. And it works out. But I think as a mom, you just got to give yourself grace, because, like Lainey said, nothing is ever perfect, and one thing can happen and it throws your plan off. And I get as much done as I can through the week. I use something called the productivity planner. But you have a new planner. I haven't got to look at it yet. So planning, no matter what, is, I would say, key, with a level of grace and flexibility with your plan. So plan what you can, and then allow there to be space for movement. There are weeks I feel super productive and I get a ton done, and I'm like, wow, I'm kicking butt at life. And then there are weeks that she just needs more attention or time. And, I'm like, if I need to get up earlier in the morning, sometimes I'll get up at 5:30 and spend 30 minutes to an hour focusing on getting the most important thing done for the day. And that sets the day off in the right direction. So I feel like I got something good done for the day, and, and we're going to flow with the rest of it. And sometimes it means I work on weekends. It's not, I think new moms and business and all that stuff, like, I don't really have like work weekends. It's like, whenever I can get things done, I get them done. And anybody who has kids understands the process. And anybody who doesn't understand, well, too bad. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, too bad. Well, I think that itself is a strategy, right? I mean, first of all, there's been a whole evolution. There's also a lot more around no matter where you're at. Some people, like, Carol was talking about, sometimes she has her grandbabies. And so whether it's babies or grandbabies and making that flexibility, I mean, there definitely have been a lot more doors open in relationship to that. But I think that's a lot of why women are making a move into the world of entrepreneurship, is some of that flexibility. And then they find themselves in entrepreneurship. And the truth is, it doesn't decrease the work, but you need to increase your strategy and align with people that understand that. And so
from a very heart-centered place, well, it's a fun, light conversation that we're having. I think from a very heart-centered place, something that she's taught me that I didn't quite grasp when Isaac was young is that she's watching everything I'm doing. And I want to inspire her. And I'm, in the beauty industry, I'm in the process of taking off my nails and taking out my extensions, just kind of simplifying, because, I want her to feel beautiful just like she is. I don't want her to feel like she has to change what she looks like to like feel beautiful. So there's things that she's getting from me as a mom that it's like, what model am I setting for her that's different? Obviously having a boy versus having a girl and this part of my life, but she's watching everything I'm doing. And I want her to chase her dreams, and I want her to feel like she can do anything, and that who she is the perfect person for this world. And it's like those things I know she's going to hold on to because she's being a part of the process. And so, it's a little life I'm changing. And so I think it's been an inspiration for me as a mom at this phase in my life to think about what I'm creating, because I know it's going to impact her so much. So that's just from like a very heart-centered place as to why I think it's so important, to just own it. If you're a mom, like go for it, do the best you can, and know that they're watching.
I think when you say that, I hear something that we've probably seen a million times, and maybe we're just starting to really learn the impact of that, is that children live their environment. And that's not news, but it really is that we make an impression upon it. I was talking earlier because we did a session with Ocean about being a momager, and I was like, well, when he said I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I couldn't have been that surprised. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, look at you. And for him, it wasn't a big twist, right? It wasn't a big concept because that's what he was raised in. He had a harder time going out and working at a job and someone telling him what to do. he had more difficulty around that. I'm like, I don't know. I think I told you what to do a couple times, right? He's like, not in the same way. I mean, like not very negotiating. But I think that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that from your heart, because I think that's what we do know. Like we know that we're making an impression upon, and then also that really big thing, that thing that we say often, but I don't think it really lands till it lands, is doing the best that we can. And, and at the same time, so sometimes I think the what we should gets hung up within ourselves. Like, a lot of people will say, take the cape off, like the cape to the dry cleaners, like just send the cape there for a while, tell them to keep it for a couple of weeks, because you can't do everything, all things. And so it's interesting to listen to some of the strategies that people do around travel. Lainey, you make different choices around travel. One of the things that I did when it came to travel is I used to have to do a lot of trade events. And yes, like you, my daughter, Chloe was 10 and a half years older than Ocean. So Chloe understood that I was away making money, and that's how everything gets taken care of. Ocean didn't really do it. And so I thought, well, how can I make that happen for him? So every time I sold a product, I would call him and say, you just made $5. Well, let me tell you, that kid was so excited when I went on business trips. He's like, are you doing another trade show? And I would text him, you made $5, you made $5, you made $5, right? And he was more excited about me leaving. And then I always made sure that when I did travel, that there was a gift on their pillow every night, because I was so full of myself, I thought they would miss me. But it made me feel better. Like, here's a little gift, right? And it was just nothing. It didn't have to be anything big, but it was something that at night, at least if I wasn't there, I was kind of there. So just some of the things that we do to navigate what it is that we're doing, like you said, for yourself. You have people that surround you that have children that understand the process. So that's great. All right. So Rocio, I mean, you can share with us your family. You've been an author. I know that you've done many countries. So you've actually lifted your family up and moved. So maybe talk a little bit about that as well.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, really, with all these powerful women. So my strategic is, what I discovered the most important is to be 100% understanding me and to be kind to myself. Because in the moment that I bring that, everything else was changing. So at the moment when I don't know anything, I go to my kids, for example, and say, I need your support. Can you help me? I have two daughters now. One is 19, the other is 17. And of course, right now they understand. But when they were kids, small, Of course, I need to have a support system to help me to carry for them. And in that moment, I remember to have a lot of shame and guilt to let them, because I was living in Hong Kong and traveled to Mexico to do business. So after understanding the most important part is to take care of myself. When I was taking care of myself, even my limiting beliefs that I was carrying them, in that moment I show up like a better mom. And that was a very important strategic. So what I discovered that worked for me is I don't get up for my bed if I don't meditate. So it's really important to center myself for the day. At least I do it for 1 hour, but if I can do it for 5 minutes, that makes a difference in my day and my intention of how to move and accomplish different things. I agree with Lainey about how I used to be somebody who judged, and now how I feel like everyone is doing the best they can with what they have. So I don't lose any more energy around anyone. So I'm very careful about who I am, the energy that I have, because really what I want is to put it in the project, and how the project is really bring me so much joy that now, today, the only thing that I take my kids is do what you love every day, because you're gonna do it for many hours during the time that really you don't have weekends, you don't gonna have any breaks. So do something that really they pay you for doing it. So it's important to have support and create that for yourself. Really, I feel that I'm really lucky to have a partner and a family who has been helping me in my vision of, if we do this, people is gonna feel better about themselves. If they feel better, we're gonna create a better community, a better world. So they understand, and now they are my allies. So is communication, is feeling better about yourself. And I have something difficult, I journal, and I use all the tools that we preach and we say, and really at one point is when something doesn't go in your way, really is maybe because it's a good reason that you need to go in another direction. So I take everything with more ease and understanding. And I love really these spaces for more people to see different strategies, and they need to take whatever works for them.
That's fantastic. There's something that I heard there that I think is fairly new, a new concept is going to your children and saying, hey, I've got this going on. Let's have that conversation. Help me strategize around that. Where a lot of times as parents, we try to keep our stuff to ourselves to protect our children or us figure it out or what have you. Obviously, it's within age appropriate. I remember we used to have we would have a meeting once every couple of weeks. There was like this family circle. I raised my kids fairly holistically. My son's father at the time kind of went along with it, and so we'd sit on the bed, and you'd be able to talk about whatever you wanted to say, right? You'd be able to say whatever it is that you want to say, and that everyone else had to listen. And it was very interesting, people's perspectives of what the week was like or 2 weeks were like. And I remember my son Ocean one time, he was like, I would just like to say, he was 2, I just like to say that Dad was mean to me. And Dad wasn't mean to him, but his perspective was Dad was mean to me once these last 2 weeks, and we had to sit there and listen, and it was just really interesting to have this dialogue, on everyone's perspectives of the week. And
we need to, it's super important.
Yeah.
If we want to create a different world, we need to play in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And a different way is like this is not my house, my rules. This is our house, and everyone puts their energy in the how you want to show up. So it's really important that everyone understand that they have agency, and it's important to support.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So look, we've kind of come to our time, but I'd love if you could all just share. I mean, it could be one of those stories that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we lived through it. I'm so glad to have a glass of wine and talk about it and laugh. It could be one of those moments that was one of your proudest moments of, being a mom. It could be like, the thing you got for Mother's Day when they were 3 that you still have in your jewelry box. Maybe just share a story. Lainey, let's start with you. If you had a Mother's Day moment or a mom moment that you could share.
Well, this is something I haven't really shared before because it never really comes up. But since of this group of women, I don't know why I feel like inspired to share it. When my son was 2, he was diagnosed with being on the spectrum and, Asperger's. Um, and we were brought into this regional center where they speak to parents who have newly diagnosed children, and they tell you to mourn your child and that you should just accept that they're not going to be the things that you thought they were going to be. They're not going to achieve the things you expected them to achieve. And so you should just accept that this child is not going to be able to accomplish things. And I just was so indignant about it. And I just stood up and I said, how dare you? How dare you? You don't know what anyone's capable of. You have no idea what anyone can accomplish. And all these people are being told that. And so all these parents are moving forward from a mournful place instead of a place of what can we do to support this child? How do we help this child become the best they can be? Yeah, it changes you as a parent. And it's probably made me a better person because it changes sort of expectations, and it helps you to understand how you have to let go of all expectations, and your children are not just an extension of you. They are not created to be a version of you, or they're their own being. And to kind of try to help them discover who they are without any pressure to be like you. I mean, obviously you model good behavior, you model being kind, and they will, as Amanda said, they will look at you, they will watch you, and they will hear you even when you don't think they are. But they need to know they're loved unconditionally for who they are, not who you wish they were or want them to be. And if they can go out into the world knowing that they have that unconditional love, it doesn't mean you're happy with all their behavior or you want, but they're actually loved. And so letting go of expectations in terms of, like, I see so many parents, I want my son to be a quarterback, or I want them to be the president, and all that kind of stuff. And really, and as Rocio was mentioning, to include them in as much as possible. I remember my daughter's a little, like 2.5, almost like 3 years older than my son. And I was worried about her being jealous of the new baby. So I said to her, it's a big responsibility to be the older sister. This is a big job. And I actually threw her like a little party. I mean, it was just our family, but I got a cake, and I made her a big sister party, and I had a gift from the baby to her, that she was like this big job that she's now. And the two of them like absolutely worship each other, and she adores him, and really still she would put him to bed, even when she was like 8 years old, he was 5. Like, she wanted to, like, she just grew up knowing her job as a big sister is a big deal. So, there's things like that where I do agree, giving your kids little bits of responsibility, or discussing things with them to get their perspective, because it might be different than you anticipate. I do think a lot of times, because past generations were very much into telling us, to be quiet and to do as we're told, there wasn't a lot of, and yes, the child can't, quote, run the household, but you can listen to them and understand their mindset and their thoughts. But, my son has taught me so much. And I don't know, I mean, he's not a grown man yet, but he's, as he's gotten older, I've learned so much and he's changed through different stages. And he's the kindest soul I've ever met. He said, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So we would invite the entire class to every birthday party, and I had to figure out how to have like 25 kids because he didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Even if they didn't invite him, he's like, we had to invite. I mean, it was like I would have my backyard filled with kids and their parents, and some parents, because there were so many people, they would leave and just leave their kid there. And I'm like, whose kid is this? I mean, we just would have, because he didn't want to. And then now he's more quiet. He doesn't want as much people around and things like that. And he's developing and changing who he is all the time. And he got a distinguished student award and he hates doing homework. And you understand what he is. And I have no idea what he's going to do with his life, to be honest. And I have no expectations, but he has things he's good at. And obviously we want to develop those into skills that he can use into a job. But he's a beautiful person, and I am better for having him in my life, and I'm a better person for knowing him. And so, I know a lot of people feel like it's a tragedy in the way they speak about these things. It's like we have to fix it. And obviously, if you have a choice, you want your child to have an easier life and not an easier life, and to be whatever that word is that people like to think of, normal or neurotypical or whatever it is. We want our children to have the easier path. Just as parents, we don't want them to struggle, but those things have made us who we are. The struggles we've had, the struggles they will have, will also make them who they are. And we don't want to protect them to the point where they don't learn how to be their own person and how to overcome things. And that's, I think, a danger. When you've had struggles, you try to give them a better life and protect them from everything. So it's kind of finding that balance of letting your kid find their own path and way without controlling everything, but also obviously giving them that love and support and enough protection that they know they have a safe place.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. That there is so many lessons in there, and we appreciate your transparency, and these are the kind of things that absolutely changes everything. So thank you, Lainey, for sharing that. And Amanda, did you have a few words before we wrap up with our mom panel?
Yeah, I mean, real quick, I think the time that I've cried the most and have been the most challenging in the last few years was a year of, it was 14, 15 months of breastfeeding. Probably the hardest job I've ever had in my entire life. The many sleepless nights, the ups and downs of, was I producing, was I not? I mean, just was she getting what she needed, was she not? Just the many emotions that went with that process, and I would say that's probably the thing I'm most proud of at this stage, because we just finished out a few months ago. But the fact that I completed that, and she's so healthy. She's been so healthy. She's got a little, I mean, her dad and I were sick for like a week, like couldn't manage, and she got it, and she was like over it in 2 days. And we were like, well, there we go. We need to all be drinking breast milk. But yeah, I mean, I think that was probably the most emotional roller coaster I've ever had for such an extended period of time. So many.
I got caught breastfeeding on a business meeting one time. They heard the baby suckling. I got caught. I was breastfeeding. I had her in a sling, and I was breastfeeding while I was on the phone. And I'm like, oh yeah, I had a baby. This and that. It's like, is that the baby right now? I was so embarrassed. I was like, oops.
Oh
He's
my
like,
gosh.
you're hardcore. I'm like literally closing a deal while I'm breastfeeding.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. Amanda, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Rocio, do you have a few words before we wrap up this beautiful Celebrity Moms panel?
Thank you. Oh my God, breastfeeding is a really top-notch experience, really. Really quick, one of the moments that I feel really proud is when my daughter, I was driving and she is, Mommy, I'm gonna vomit. And I don't want to vomit. And she's like feeling really sick. I stop the car and I put my hands and it's like please, baby, here. So she vomit in my hands and I was completely like I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna pretend that everything is okay. So it was, and she's like, I'm sorry, Mommy, I'm sorry. And I was, no, it's okay, baby, it's okay. It's okay. So all the things that we need to do for beautiful kids. So thank you so much, everyone,
Thank
for
you
this
so much.
amazing opportunity.
Let's
Thank you.
do some loves. And what I heard was just love. What I heard was just love. Love on yourself. Love where you are. Love what you do. Thank you so much, Katie. I'm going to take it to you for a few minutes. So how are you feel? I'm feeling so full with all the women that are sharing the transparency.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So good. So good. And I have, being a mom of 3 adult children now, oh, the stories. There's so much. But I love what Amanda said too. And it's like we are modeling in front of our children and then their children and their children. We get to change those patterns. I forget if it was Lainey or someone said, you're not to be heard. You're here. Your opinion doesn't matter. Those kind of things. Like so many comments that it's like, oh my gosh, that's how we grew up. And we get to change that for the future generations. That makes me so happy. I love that.
Wow. All right. Well, yay. Thank
Yay.
you. All good.